I'm Joseph. I'll be your moderator for this panel. I do PR work with the Ethereum Foundation, and we're here to speak with Vitalik Buterin and Xiaowei Wang, who is the new co-ED of the Ethereum Foundation. But today is a very special day. As you've all likely heard this morning, marks one of the larger deals in the history of our industry. Blockstream announces that Bitcoin, soon Bitcoin 2.0, will solve its security and quantum risks by becoming the future settlement layer for rollups, now L3s, and Ethereum's native L2 stack. Vitalik, you announced a few minutes ago in a blog, you'll be moving over to Blockstream for the next 4 years with Tim Bako, who will steward the Bitcoin core dev meetings. What are you looking forward to working on most at Blockstream? And what can the Ethereum ecosystem expect from Adam Back's incoming leadership as part of this trade?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's going to be very exciting. You know, we're going to get Ethereum and Bitcoin to merge together, as was, of course, the original Satoshi's vision, as was proclaimed by Craig Wright. It's going to be exciting to see, Ethereum going back to proof of work and Bitcoin going to proof of stake, we get to do both of those transitions at the same time. I mean, I think the crypto space should just do more fun things for the world, right? And it should just scale, and it should do technical things. It's it's kind of like how Elon just keeps on launching starships and sometimes they blow up. You just do fun technical stuff, and you give people the world something to watch and be excited about. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this partnership with Blockstream.
Have fun. All right. On a panel like this, we would usually jump right into technology questions like that one, but real happy April Fool's Day. But Xiaowei I introed as the new co-ED at EF. And a co-organizer at ETHTaipei. And Vitalik navigated an intense transition period with everything you guys have seen posted on Ethereum Foundation's blog and everything discussed over the last few months. So I have a lot of questions. I'll run through as many as I can, but feel free to time keep. If you give me a 5-minute sort of notice, or and we'll run through as many of these as we can. But let's start with EF. Xiaowei, your role, and Tom's, is a new chapter for EF management. Can you share more about your priorities, what you plan to work on?
So hello everyone. So before the co-ED role, I was a researcher at the EF, and I am a community builder in East Taipei and other Taiwanese community. So I think this role changing to me, first I will have many new areas that I will have to be familiar with more, not just the protocol research. So I think that the priority thing to me was okay, first we have to review what we did is not good enough, or what we did was good, then we should keep going. So I think the first month, first 2 weeks we did was in this process. And after that, I think the most important thing is to increase the capacity of management team. I think the new chapter of the EF is not about, now we have 2 co-EDs. It doesn't mean that we will change largely we will shift our focus to somewhere largely. I think we're more about how we can do more in the new area. Because I think this management change in somewhat reflects 2025 could be a more crucial year, and then we need some new inspiring to the EF inside, and hope to fully these vibes will also spread to the ecosystem. So, like say, like the team capacity increasement, and then I think next thing is like we would, like it's not rebuild, but at least for me, myself, and Tomasz, like we will enhance our communication and connection with the community. Like we've been in this industry for over years, but I think taking this position means that we will need to have a broader vision to the ecosystem. So I think that's two of our recent capacity. And after that, we will have a more practical plan about what exactly things we would need to do as soon as possible.
Got it. Thank you. And to Mudeng's adoptive father, what? You guys, he gets it from you. What does it mean to do, as Aya says, what only the EF can? And can you lend a little bit of insight into how the EF works, the interplay between management, for example, and research? There was a lot of, during the stress of the last months, people thinking that they could bring in, someone like Danny and they just sort of define a roadmap as ED. And I think this was some, some more insight might have been helpful there into what research does versus what management does versus what the board does and so on.
Yeah, and so the way that we think about the Ethereum Foundation's role is basically that it does the things for the ecosystem that are really valuable and important for the ecosystem to both like thrive and prosper in general and to continue to support Ethereum's underlying values, but particularly those things that would not just happen automatically on their own in the EF's absence, right? And so if you think about, like, say, building DeFi applications, for example, right? I mean, like, DeFi is great, right? But also, like, there are plenty of other people who are willing to create DeFi applications. And so, like, the EF itself does not need to have a team doing that. But on the other hand, if you think of something like paying, security people to constantly look over, like, the clients in different parts of the protocol, like, that's easily something that the ecosystem would underinvest in on its own. And so it's the EF's job to participate in that. Or another aspect of this might be that there's some layers of infrastructure where if they were left up to independent actors, they might be designed in a way that's like more proprietary than it should be, that's like more dependent on either like extra tokens or centralized actors than it needs to be. And so you really need or something like the EF can be really valuable and like actually putting the effort into creating a version of some part of the stack that's really built on open standards that supports permissionlessness and censorship resistance and decentralization as much as possible, because like building something like that by default does not have any economic interest, right? And so those are some of the EF's goals. In terms of the EF's operation, like, it's this very like loose collection of a lot of different teams, right? Like the research team has been actually quite autonomous for a long time. The Geth team has been quite autonomous. PSE has all kinds of different components to it, right? And so the job of leadership, I think, is to make sure that all of these different pieces have the resources that they need to make actually do their job. Also to keep an eye and make sure, like, are there things that need to be expanded on? Are there things that were necessary before but are not necessary anymore, or that the ecosystem can do on its own? Are there new areas where the foundation needs to step in and become more involved and create more teams and like basically have this kind of coordinating function? So like to me, that's what leadership is about. And then aside from that, like we generally try to be hands-off, and like we try to like focus on nurturing and focus on like being supportive to the different teams inside and outside the foundation, and like do what we can to maximize the extent to which everyone can productively collaborate.
Got it. And as a sort of follow-up, although this can go to either or both of you, while the EF isn't Ethereum's government, some believe that for holding Genesis Ether, it gives the org some public accountability. What do you think about that dynamic of sort of how that role changes over time?
So what role do you mean?
EF's role and its sort of responsibility as either responding to or representing public wants versus having fulfilled the launch of the network role and sort of now existing to do what it sees as being in the network's benefit.
Right. I mean, I think like in general, we should avoid being sort of too stuck in the past, right? And I think we should always kind of revisit Ethereum from the perspective of the present situation and basically ask the question like, okay, here is where Ethereum is at now. Here is its current level of technical capability. Here are its technical concerns. Here are some of the social concerns in terms of whether it's like alignment of incentives or centralization risk or something else. And then here are the unique properties that the EF has as an organization, and how can we best leverage those properties to try to improve things, and also to try to, I think, kind of maximally move the ecosystem to a place where, like, ideally, like if the EF has some function for some amount of time, like maybe at some point it can figure out some way to arrange the ecosystem so that the EF doesn't need to do that function at some point in the future, right? So, yeah, and I think in general, like we need to keep an open mind, sort of not be overly influenced by the conception of like how we thought of the EF in 2014 or 2019, but keep in mind Ethereum's values, keep in mind the philosophy's position, and basically ask like, what is the right thing for the network at the current time?
Got it.
And also, just to add that it can be both true that the EF treasury was backed up by the Genesis crowdfund, and then by the ICO, but also that the EF was established by Vitalik and other people. Like it was like at the beginning that they set the firm like goal and the philosophy and core values for what the EF should be, what the EF should do. So I think just we have to balance between like what the by the time, like since the EF is not the central, not the main player in the ecosystem, and at the same time, I mean this dynamic change it must happen, and it's happened because the EF is doing good job, right, to distribute to empower the powers, and then at the same time that we still have to remember like what the EF's core role is and what can EF do and other entity couldn't do. I think that's important.
Okay, it's a tough balance. I think it's definitely easy to see how a lot of foundations look a lot more like companies that aren't going anywhere. And then in Bitcoin there used to be a foundation. I think I gave them $20 once. But
yeah, well, there's two kinds of failure modes, right? There's like the foundation that looks like a company, and then there's also the foundation that looks like a retirement fund. Yeah. And like we see plenty of both in the crypto space. So I think we should not be either of those two.
Do you see any others that are trying to play the same sort of long-term game as ETH is? Application layer, layer 2 layer?
And I think there's like a lot of different like projects and teams that aspire to this ideal of like trying to think about having a long view, but at the same time, the question is which approaches are actually going to work? But in to me, the EF is there to exist in combination with all of these other like projects, like applications, layer twos, zero X Spark type entities, other people within the Ethereum ecosystem.
Okay, so we're going to skip ahead and talk about Ethereum now, but thanks for the EF commentary. On the network, Vitalik recently said that we're now at a pivot point where Ethereum moves from a more experimental technology in its early days into a global, incredibly neutral settlement layer for the world. To either of you, we can start with Xiaowei, but what is a tangible example, whether it's securities markets, identity, real world assets, anything that might look like wider success to you in the future, and what does it look like in practice? Like, can you give a dream scenario of a way that real people are using the network 10, 20, or 50 years down the road?
Good question. I think okay, so it will based on like we will have a very scaled network in layer 1, and hopefully also layer 2 will have a more healthier ecosystem and applications will be built on more on layer 2 than layer 1 for the spatial use cases. And if we think about the long-term vision, then the application layer will be much more like visible, important, and closer to people's real life in the long term. So I think this is, for example, like transactions should be, for the basic payments, it should be like seamless, and it should be embedded to our current payment use cases. And also, like, okay, you should be able to, for the user, you should be able to feel like there's no blockchain when you use it. It's just the normal payment solution. And then identity, and this identity will also like combine to the privacy solutions. Like, you should be able to choose like what kind of data you want to share with in all the use cases. Yeah, and zero knowledge will be largely including this embedded into our life, like. But also, like, you don't need to learn about like what zero knowledge cryptography is. That you can just use it, I think.
So largely, it's that owning your own keys and sort of managing your own security exists for those that need it. But for a lot of people, when they tap in pay, they'll be using digitized versions of, let's say, nation-state currencies that are institutionalized, this kind of thing.
Yeah, also, like, I think largely will be depends on the wallet user experience, like to make people don't feel any crypto, any blockchain, like inside this, you need to have a really good wallet experience. And it doesn't, maybe you won't be called wallet in the future.
Yeah.
It'll be just like your, like right now there's like WeChat or like Line in Taiwan, and so in the future it'll be maybe you don't feel this is a wallet, it's an integrated application, and you have many small applications inside it.
That's a call to the app developers out there. There's a lot of work to be done, and abstract things. To Vitalik, you can answer on this one a little bit as well, but If not, I have a controversial layer one question for you. Okay. There's a lot of debate out there about the L1's value capture mechanisms. So some researchers talk about blobs capturing value and this being sort of a main feature of future L1 revenue. And the other side says that DA will be sort of negligible and that we need to look at other L1 scalability paths and other L1 sort of fee capture mechanisms. Where do you fall on this today? And I don't want to make it so that you come down so strong that it sort of steers research in one way or the other. But
so I think like there's a lot of uncertainty about where the value of cryptocurrencies comes from, right? And there is the school of thought that it's about like the fees. There's a school of thought that like actually fees don't really matter, and it's just about sort of the moneyness of ETH, or like sort of the centrality of ETH as this kind of big payment and collateral asset inside of the Ethereum ecosystem. I mean, I think in general, like I would prefer we be agnostic between those different options, and we try strategies that can help ETH, the asset, prosper in all of those different scenarios. And I think the big commonality that lets us do that is basically that, like I think for ETH, the asset to prosper, the Ethereum L1 does have to do things, right? Like I think if the L1 just becomes this kind of hyper minimal thing where like you just have a few hashes submitted into it, the problem is like even if you can theoretically make a story about how there's this ecosystem and ETH can have moneyness in that ecosystem, like the problem is that all of the other actors in the ecosystem, their interest is not to cement the presence of ETH. Their interest is to cement the presence of their own assets, right? And so we're seeing, USDC-based economies on layer 2s. We're seeing like there are like layer 2s encouraging issuance of assets directly on their own chains, and like all of these different things, right? And the challenge is like if layer 1 has a very low level of power, then like the ecosystem has no choice but to do all of those things, and the result of it will be that the layer 1 does not collect significant fees, and you get all of these different actors whose incentive it is to keep on eroding the moneyness of ETH and kind of replace that with other assets, right? And so I think the more that this is a big part of the reason why I do think that a good roadmap for Ethereum has to include a strong role for a strengthened L1, which includes more blocks, and it includes more L1 gas, and it includes more of these L1, L2 interoperability features. Because if you have that, then like that creates more opportunities for the L1 and for ETH to have more of a role in all of these dimensions.
And brief follow-up on L2 interoperability. Are you seeing progress? We talked about things last year like address format work. There's calls ongoing now, but I think how extensive of an effort that is still something to be seen. Any early thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's making progress. It definitely feels like there's broad agreement among a lot of things. I mean, the open intents framework exists. There's definitely wallets that are integrating it and that are integrating chain-specific addresses already. There's definitely been a lot of kind of quiet progress in terms of rallying everyone around a common set of frameworks under the hood. So I'm optimistic about how things will go forward from here.
Got it. Okay, Toshawe, I think we have time for maybe two more. We'll see. But largely, we talked first about EF's role in sort of pushing credit outward and sort of outward the ability to act as an ecosystem. Where do you see the Ethereum ecosystem today as most healthy or self-sustaining? Where is it still overly dependent? And where do you see our ability to impact those things?
So I think, so Ethereum ecosystem is getting, I mean, the scale is much more bigger and we have much more leaders in the ecosystem. But I hope we will have more decentralized leadership within the ecosystem. Like we're doing good, but it's for my perspective and also like inspired by this Aya's Infinite Garden. It's like we should enable more players to join it, and that's not just from the current ecosystem, but also from the outside. It's like how can we onboard new leaders to join the ecosystem? So I think that's what most from generally we should do more.
Okay. Since I got the 3-minute marker, I'm just going to see if we can do a lightning round with a few of these. All right. In regions where stablecoins are gaining traction, how do you see Ethereum or decentralized technology catching up with centralized chains that got early adoption? To Vitalik.
Yeah, and I think one, just having better and competitive UX, and then also two, I think like pushing forward on even new kinds of asset issuance, like even alternatives to existing, I mean, like USDC and USDT type things, and better opportunities for people to do more things with to like save and build their wealth.
Okay, to both, and you can give as short of answers as you'd like. If somebody builds DeFi on or stablecoin payments on a blockchain that is, let's say, 99% owned by a company, 1% given out to their favorite validators, is it DeFi? But it supports the EVM.
I think that's like C DeFi, right?
Stage 0 DeFi.
Stage 0, yeah. Okay, one application type or specific app, if you have any in mind, with regional or global implications that deserves more focus. This is give a shout out to somebody.
With regional or global focus?
Yeah.
So that means any focus at all?
Yeah, either or just a type of application.
Okay, the whole like space of things like ZK email and Anon-Adhar and TLS notary, like basically kind of like things that let us read Web 2 inside of Web 3 and thereby import Web 2 trust anchors into Web 3. I think that gives us a lot more options for how to create more security for regular users, but at the same time, like actually, still have more self-sovereignty because you would be able to combine like different combinations of these things and not be controlled by one actor.
I think decentralized social media, like I mean, right now I think the conversation was pretty centralized in some basic community, and also like it's for Asia. Community, it's like there will be somewhat barrier between these tribes, and then I think it's better to have this first it's the decentralized platform, but also like how we coordinate between this decentralized hub within the community, like how can like ETHTaipei people be more connected to the world, and also like how not just ETHTaipei, but also like I think Asia and West and Europe. That's the three like regions. Like I think there should be some more innovative ways, more creative way to community.
Okay. There's some work being done in the decentralized social media space. We could probably see more. So everybody here, run over to the ETH Global event at the end of the week and build another stack. All right, thank you very much. I think this ends our time, but thank you, Vitalik. Thank you, Xiaowei. And keep building.